Hey guys, today we're on patch 7.1 of Space Marine 2 to talk about the Vanguard class and his best prestige perks and some of his best perks overall. Now, the Vanguard class has always been very popular. He has access to things like the Melt-A-Gun, he has healing in this game, and healing effects are very rare, and he has two of the best ones, and honestly, I think at this point, Unmatched Zeal might be like a top 3 team perk in the whole game. This is a phenomenal perk, a phenomenal class to play, and he's just really fun too, and like he's pretty much always in the thick of it. He's always doing melee damage, he's always doing range damage, he's a hybrid class. He has a lot of fun little perk effects. He actually has like 2 or 3 really viable builds. He's really fun. That's the main takeaway here. Vanguard is fun, so he's popular, and that's that's what you want this game to be. You want it to be fun. But as for his prestige perks are pretty good. He has like 4 really good ones and like 3 not so good ones, which is kind of like an unfortunate thing in this game. Like, it is good that 4 of them are good. It's just kind of unfortunate that the other 3 are just kind of ignorable. And we'll talk about well equipped, because equipment damage increased by 20% might sound good to some people, but I just don't think this is very valuable, but we'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to talk about battlefield awareness. If a target is within 8 meters, you deal 10% more range damage. More range damage is hard to come by in this game, and for the Vanguard, I think this is really beneficial. I think this really helps him with things like Tip of the Spear, which is enemies hit by diving kick take 15% more range damage for 10 seconds, and this is just more damage on top of that, and really the 8-meter limitation here doesn't matter to us because we're constantly going in with the grapnel launcher, because the Vanguard's pretty much always in the thick of it anyways. Now, this is pretty much a must pick for me, and I think a lot of people will be taking this anyways, because really you don't have a ton of options beyond like these 4 and like maybe this. Now, Exigency Charge. This perk used to be the best perk in this whole tree until like 2 days ago where they patched it. Even though it says when your health is less than 25%, ability charge regenerates 15% faster, what it actually says, or what it actually did before, was give you like below 25% HP, you had a huge damage reduction, more melee and range damage, and more cooldown reduction on top of that. But they fixed that, and now this perk is pretty trash tier. In fact, this is like a negative synergy perk, and really, at any skill level with the Vanguard, you're not going to be below 25% HP for very long. And if you are, you're probably going to be dead. And like if you're taking that much damage, you'll probably be dead anyways, and then you'll be gotten up and you'll be above 25% HP again, because this guy has like 2 healing perks, and if you're like, really, people tend to take both of these. So a perk that says below 25%, you get like a faster grapnel recharge. That's pretty terrible. So pretty much never take this. Like, I don't really know why they put this on a class that has healing, especially like when there's only like 2 classes in the whole game that have any type of healing. So that's kind of odd to me. Now, Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Knockback and no knockback effects in this game are good. Unfortunately for this is like the worst version of this, especially on a class that has upper hand, which is after a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Most of the time when you do a gun strike in this game, you're going to be doing it off a perfect parry or dodge anyways, so really this only functions for this class if you're taking upper hand, which like most people are. Like, really, this only functions for this class if you're like slapping a Minoris or something, and even then, sometimes you do get knocked back anyways with Indomitable Spirit, and that's kind of shitty. So I wouldn't really take this unless you want to take something else in this tree, like Melee Mastery or Moving Target, because both these perks like are pretty good. It's just no knockback here is just better, and no knockback here is kind of, this is pretty mid. Now, Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This is a boring effect. Just like standard health increase, kind of boring. However, it is also one of the best effects in the entire game, because health is super valuable in Space Marine 2, because the way health works is that the lower your HP gets, the more damage resistance you get in the game, which means your effective HP goes up. So if you have more total HP, your 30% with all that damage reduction is going to be worth that much more. So pretty much always take this. This is why things like the 30% increase on Bulwark and Heavy are so good, because they really struggle to die, and damage reduction is really good in this game, and more HP is that much better because of it. Now, Launch Restoration. Using the grapnel launcher restores 1 armor segment. This might sound like a pretty mundane effect, but this is actually pretty goated. Mainly because this says you get 1 armor when you want it most, which is when you're going in, and this also stacks with Tactical Prowess, which is the grapnel launcher can activate a finisher not only on incapacitated enemies, but also on those who have less than 33% HP, and performing a finisher with the grapnel launcher restores its charge. Now, this functions with this perk in the way that you will get the armor off the execute on top of the armor off your grapnel, so that's really, really good for this class. This gives you like your full armor back, And armor on demand in this game is pretty rare, and the perks that do have it, like armor reinforcement, or the classes I should say, these are all like god tier perks or like top tier perks. Like armor reinforcement is amazing because armor just removes any instance of health damage from like some of the heaviest hitting enemies in this game. Like if you have one armor and a lictor slaps you, he'll do no health damage to you at all. So one armor is super valuable, and that goes for things like the Hive Tyrant at times too, and the Trigon. So, and any boss in this game, any mini boss. So one armor on command, really, really good. I'd pretty much always take this. It's a pretty god tier perk. Now, Restoration, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. I don't think this is like remotely as valuable as this, though it's still a good perk. This works pretty well on heavy, and having like multiple instances of armor restoration on a class that is constantly in melee combat and constantly killing more than 7 enemies. This used to be 10 until like 2 days ago, where they buffed these perks to be 7 instead. And the rapid succession rate is currently 6 seconds. It used to be 5 seconds. So as long as you're killing those enemies within like that 6-second period in between each one of them, you'll get that armor segment back, and that's really easy to do. Now, well-equipped, equipment damage increases by 20%. I don't really like this perk because crack grenades already do their job for the most part, and that would probably benefit from this the most. Normal frag grenades, they don't benefit from an increased equipment damage all that much. Usually they're used for stagger, and things like the melt-a-bomb already one-shot most guys. And most of the time when you crack grenade something in this game, you just kill it in like 2 seconds later anyways. And you're usually not going to be crack grenading things beyond like zoanthropes and terminators, because those are the easiest to crack, or like things that already get one shot like Majora's. So I really don't think 20% equipment damage is that viable. If you really want to use this, you can. I mean, I just don't think it's as good as like these 4, but you know, I still think this perk is probably better than these 2. So those are my opinions on the current prestige perks for this guy. If I were to go through here, you know, I would just take Battlefield Awareness, and then Fortitude, and then Launch Restoration, and then Restoration. So I think that's pretty meta at the moment. I also think that's just like the one that makes the most sense, because unfortunately, though these perks are good, these other 3 are kind of boring. So I hope some of these get a rework, especially this one and this one. Like Indomitable Spirit is pretty much only useful on classes that have like a parry window and have no other instance of knockback resist like Heavy. This is pretty decent on Heavy. It's just not that good in a class that already has the benefit built into the base class perks with Upper Hand. Now, as far as like meta builds go for this guy, I mean, you have a lot of options. This guy is kind of blessed with a ton of good perks. Unfortunately, some of them are so good that like pretty much nobody's not taking Unmatched Zeal. And if you are taking Unmatched Zeal or like not taking it, probably be taking Melee Champion, because, or Inner Fire, because Inner Fire did get nerfed. It's not as good as it used to be, but you know, there are arguments to be made for all of these, because more melee damage is pretty good. I do want to mention while I'm here that Grim Determination, when grapnel launcher is in cooldown, weapon damage increases by 15%. This perk is actually deceptively bad, mainly because this doesn't function like when your grapnel launcher is in like base cooldown. It has to be like fully on cooldown. It means you have like 0 charges left, and that is pretty shitty in my opinion, because some of the perks in this game like function like usually you have a grapnel saved, and if you're using a perk like this, like Tactical Prowess and Zone of Impact, it kind of works directly against that, because you're really not going to be out of grapnel all that often, assuming this perk functions properly, which, to be honest, it doesn't all the time, because this perk's kind of buggy, and sometimes a grapnel guy, and they just won't like have an actual execute. Though I will say, Zone of Impact, performing a finisher with the grapnel launcher, deals damage to nearby enemies. This is actually a ton of damage. This will chunk enemy HP. It'll do like, you know, sometimes do like half the damage on Majora's. I don't know the exact number. Point is, when you play with it, you will notice that your grapnel finishers will like utterly destroy entire groups of Majora's at times, and you just get them with like an endless loop of executes. This is super good. And this is the same thing as like Purity of Purpose for Bulwark, where like they just have like these little effects where like, oh, you deal damage over time. Well, guess what? It's actually a ton of damage, and it's almost like anything that says you deal like a little bit of damage for the most part on your ability usage, or like execute explosions. Same thing with like the Heavy. This one perk, where is it? Wrath of the Imperium and Iron Halo expends all its energy. Enemies in that 10-meter radius take significant damage. These are all pretty good. This is like the worst one, mainly because the damage is good. It's pretty good. It's just that your Iron Halo isn't expending all its energy all the time because you manually turn it off. But you know, that's just my opinion on the Vanguard here with Zone of Impact. You should probably use this perk. If you haven't tried the grapnel build, if you're afraid to go off Adrenaline Rush, I don't think Adrenaline Rush is as valuable as Unmatched Zeal currently, because this one gives you 30% for not only yourself, it's like a whole stim basically, but also your entire team. So granting healing to teammates that would otherwise have none is so good in this game. And Inner Fire being nerfed, I don't know if this is like a justified nerf, because this used to work on all finishers, including like Minoris, and now it's only Majoris. I don't think this is as valuable as it used to be. It's still good with things like Invigorating Icon, but now Bulwark has like the most OP perk ever with Masterful Defense. That ability to charge restore by 1% for every blocked range attack. I'm curious if they'll actually leave this perk in, because if this works for every single instance of a ranged attack, including your teammates. So Invigorating Icon, you know, until this thing is gone or fixed or reworked or whatever they're doing, this perk will always be pretty goated along with Inner Fire. So that's my opinion on the Vanguard's prestige perks and some of his like little meta builds here. Yeah, I haven't really gotten to like an in-depth on the meta builds for this guy. I probably will at some point. But those are some of my opinions here. If you like content like this, subscribe for more. If you like content regarding Space Marine 2, I have a lot more on this channel. This is probably the last perk guide I have to do for the prestige perks. So I'll probably put these in a compilation at some point, so it'll be easier to watch. Anyways, guys, take it easy. Thanks for watching. Peace.